Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to another edition of Pope Culture, coming to you from the luxurious studios of Radio Titans in Los Angeles. And as always, I'm one of your co-hosts, Carl Kozlowski. I'm a film critic with the Pasadena Weekly as well as the Angelus News, the archdiocesan newspaper in Los Angeles. And my co-hosts are...
Tanya Yarbrough, a dog trainer and a Catholic unextraordinaire.
And you're also a comedian with Catholic Laughs. So,
well, that's true. Yeah. I actually add that in. And I clean toilets on a regular basis.
Okay, wonderful. And then
Michael Wally, I'm also a movie critic over at Angelus News with Carl, and I probably don't clean my toilet as often as I should.
And we've given
fantastic.
With that lovely image. This week we've got a hot show. We're going to be dealing with the shocking death of a nun in a courtroom while she was battling Katy Perry over the possession of a convent. Then about what was the deal with why Katy Perry wants this convent in the first place. Plus, the return of American Idol, where Katy Perry's a judge and caused a controversy by forcing a kiss on a young man. We'll get to that very strange story. And also beyond that, we deal with a controversy in the Vatican over whether a letter was doctored and why by one pope for another. And also dealing with March Madness in Catholic schools that are doing killer positioning in the March Madness. So let's start it off with the story of the nun dying in courtroom. There's this long-running battle going on here in Los Angeles of an order of nuns that have been, basically they were getting older, kind of dying out, and there was a lot of question, what's going to happen to this really large property that they have in an area of LA called Los Feliz, and they had a few bidders wanting to buy it. It's obviously going to be deconsecrated, I believe. Does anybody know differently?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know this being deconsecrated. That I didn't pick up on in terms of when I researched it. But I know that the nuns wanted this woman who was a restaurateur and wanted to turn it into a boutique hotel.
Yeah.
But because they didn't receive the permission from the archdiocese, that was null and void. And Katy Perry had been property. So Katy Perry wants the property, according to what I've researched, to kind of have a place for her mother to live with her and be able to, this is a quote, serve tea and find herself. The sisters involved were not happy with this concept because they felt like selling the property to Katy Perry, whether the archdiocese agree with it or not, which, by the way, the archdiocese says, it's okay, sell it to Katy Perry. And the sisters were saying, no, because we've seen her videos, we've listened to her music, and she is not, she's not going to respect the consecrated land that our convent has been on. And adjacent to that is the seminary meditation prayer retreat area. So it's kind of sort of a, not to be, no pun intended, but sister property. And so they have to relocate because they're not associated anymore with that particular Mediterranean multi-residence property that the nuns had. So they're like, look, it's going to break our canonical vows of chastity to sell this property to Katy Perry, who has, in the way I describe it, a lack of chastity in terms of her ways of making money and her lifestyle. Yeah. So they're fighting her in the courts for that.
Yeah, well, and it's been very stressful, obviously, but this nun, literally just, died right in the courtroom. And she was 89 years old, so granted, God could take her at any time, anywhere at that age, pretty much. But, I can't imagine that the stress of the situation didn't add to that factor of old age and whatnot,
right.
But,
yeah. Katy Perry has gotten completely creamed on Twitter about her lack of respect for the nuns, and that she's being literally she's being labeled as a killer of nuns.
Oh my God!
And yeah, and it's more than 50%. Like, it's overwhelmingly, you killed this woman. And what is interesting to me is that most of my life, I have witnessed people making fun of nuns, saying nuns were stupid,
Really?
and not defending the Catholic Church and not defending Catholic nuns. They were just vicious little ruler knuckle rappers, kind of women. And so I find this kind of ironic, and I don't understand it, honestly, that, I'm okay with it, but I don't understand why these people are supporting these nuns and being upset that Katy Perry has pushed this to the point, wants the property so bad, and the Archdiocese is accepting it, but I don't pay attention to the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, that, they're literally calling her a nun killer, and that's kind of interesting.
I'm surprised because you sent along a link to an article in People magazine that tries to explain the court case, and I'm shocked looking over this right now. I looked it over earlier, but re-looking at, like, they really are being actually not mocking the nuns, and kind of just by putting the facts out there, making Katy look like the villain in this thing. I mean, there really is no way around it.
Well, Katy, and honestly, Archbishop of the Diocese, Gomez is also participant in this. No, we want to sell to Katy Perry and forget about Hollinger, the businesswoman
Hollister, actually,
entrepreneur who originally the nuns wanted to sell to, but because they didn't get permission first, now that's null and void. And so the nuns were okay with selling the property to this woman who wanted to make it to a small boutique, high-end hotel, and not to Katy Perry. And Gomez is saying, no, we want to sell to Katy Perry. So it's kind of like, it's not just Katy. I have to be honest, it's not just Katy. The nuns are feeling the stress from the diocese. The diocese is not backing them up. And that's kind of odd to me, too, because, the priests who have their prayer retreat right next to that property, who also have to, relocate, the diocese is not supporting the priest's prayer retreat property either. And that seems weird to me.
I know. Isn't Gomez a little old to be such a fan of Katy Perry? I mean...
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, that being on a superficial level, yes, isn't he a little old for that? But what is the benefit to the diocese to do that? Because now, here's the thing: the original person who wanted to buy it, that the nuns agreed to without permission of the diocese, paid Katy Perry $1.34 million based on the People article, and has to pay back a certain amount to the diocese for, oops, I didn't have permission. So here's the weird thing. On a financial level, why does this woman who originally, in good faith wanted to purchase property, put it down on, and now she has to, pay Katy Perry and the diocese money for saying, oops, I'm sorry, I didn't have permission?
It's actually more than the money.
The diocese is pushing to have Katy Perry to buy it, and the nuns are saying she's going to do no good with this property.
Well, for me, it's not really. It's not a matter of who benefits. It's just there's a major image problem here. I think this actually it makes the nuns look bad that they're not willing to treat just a fellow human being as an equal, regardless of what her what her career is or how she lives her personal life. I mean, would you also not let somebody come in for communion because you're not or confession because you're not sure if they're going to sin later in the day or not? I don't know. I look at this.
Confession, yes. Communion, no. Right?
Well,
yeah. He meant confession.
I meant confession. I meant confession. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, Jesus Christ himself, he hung out with lepers, with prostitutes, with tax collectors, with all kinds of people, and that's part of what I think the Catholic message should be, is that you should be willing to reach out to anybody, regardless of where they are in their personal journey. And so the fact that they're taking such, and I do understand where they're coming from, but the fact that they're taking such a hard line on this, I think it sends a bad image.
Well, I mean, okay, look at how Katy Perry's conducted her career more mature and moving away from being ultra sexual in her image, and I mean, she's gone backwards. It's like Madonna started out shocking people, and over time, in a lot of ways, became a more did a lot. Part of that's probably her age. That she's in her 50s and a mom. And
it was in her 50s.
Yeah. Okay, it wouldn't be quite as attractive to those who find her attractive, acting like a virgin at like 55 or something. But still, I mean, Katy Perry has gone from like being her first hit was "I Kissed a Girl," so there you have it right off the bat. But she was she had like a sweet kind of fun image at first, and now she's just getting like really, really weirdly kinky in her videos. Like there's one where she's on her last album, she's laying out on a table having food served off of her to random guys, and did this gross replica of that video on Saturday Night Live, and I was just like, what on earth are you doing? I mean, it's she's more extreme than most of the female artists out there today. So
she's become kind of strangely antagonistic over the years too, because she has she and Taylor Swift have this ongoing feud, and like their songs are about each other. It's like, guys, just drop it, like let it go.
I didn't even notice that. I didn't know that was about, because Taylor Swift writes songs about everybody, so I have no idea.
Oh, no one's safe from Taylor. Taylor Swift probably made a song bashing me at some point, and I've never even met her. Like she's like no one is safe from Taylor Swift.
Newsflash: decipher the lyrics to Taylor Swift, listeners, for Michael Wally.
Yeah, we're acting like we'll drive a lot of meaning out. Taylor Swift is like, and I have to be honest, I'm like Taylor Swift in these, even though I should be more mature, I was regressed in a lot of years, so now I'm making up for time, so I'm more immature in my reaction to things. Carl could attest this. But the thing is that I didn't know that it was directly towards Katy Perry. I know that Miley Cyrus has created a lot of issues, in terms of her blowing up and being ridiculous after having a very controlled sort of younger life. But yeah, I didn't recognize that there was a Taylor Swift / Katy Perry fight. I do know that before she married Russell Brand, she was, she has a tattoo reminding her of her Christian roots. But she specifically because she's a preacher's daughter, so she specifically went away from her Christian roots to kind of discover herself, but she always wanted that reminder. And I feel like a part of her is still kind of going for that. In a sense, and I have to agree with you, Michael, that maybe, the nuns are kind of prejudging the situation. I feel like that this might be an opportunity for Katy Perry to kind of find herself in a Christian sense, because she ran away from it, got into a marriage that ended very quickly, and is kind of still, as in her words, finding herself. And that might be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we laughed at the quote of her saying, "I want to sip tea and find myself," because it does sound kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, you're right. There might be something to that. You never know when someone is going to rediscover their faith and their
and awkwardly, Russell Brand, being as much of a punk he is, and punk is in quotes, and you can take that as to the degree you want to. He has made some very strong statements against pornography, against sort of sex revolution thing. He's been sort of more conservative in terms of the way he's responded. So being an ex-husband of Katy Perry is kind of ironic that she's the sexual sort of progressive person, but like you said, Michael, she may very well be truly finding herself. And these nuns are struggling with their whole, I see what you produce, so I don't know that I feel comfortable with it. But here's the thing. In the Archdiocese, they don't actually, from what I've read, they don't actually have the power to say, no, you can't. So